Welcome back to Alpha Tauri, where if you've not watched the last episode, I do highly suggest you check that one out. The link will be in the description below, because much like Thanos, who's on my shirt right now, Lance Stroll snapped his fingers and reduced our viable cars by half. Yes, Lance Stroll decided it was his personal mission to make sure we cannot get to the end of the season with a functioning vehicle for Yuki Tsunoda. I've got the practice pieces in right now, but I think, realistically, we can get Alex to the end of the season, provided there are no further incidents. It will require absolutely grinding that one viable gearbox to the end and praying nothing else happens to any of these three, but I believe this year, at the very least, you can actually drive them on the 19%. Whereas last year, the second it tipped onto a orange percentage, they just weren't usable. So I think they are usable on that this year. They just obviously don't function, which means I can use them for practice in theory. But yeah, he has no working ERS and no working engine, does Yuki. So I feel like Yuki Tsunoda might end up being sacrificed to the financial gods, because I cannot afford 5 million and I cannot afford 2.5 million combined. He does have two gearboxes that will probably last thereabouts. Because we've only got 5.7 million to begin with, just financially full stop. So I cannot do both the engine and the ERS at the same time, even if I wanted to. And budget-wise, we have 10 million in the cost cap. So if I took 7.5 million out of that, that leaves us with 3.3, which is not enough to do research for next year. So I either have to sacrifice Yuki Tsunoda now or don't do research. But as I say, I can't actually replace all the pieces that he absolutely needs for Mexico, both the engine and the ERS, because I don't have the just straight up money for it. This, by the way, is what cost him... Actually, to be fair, he wasn't actually responsible for either of the accidents that happened. This is what does the controlling, by the way. For the grand total of 544,000 over the course of a year, Yuki Tsunoda's control is reduced by 1/3 for 7 races. 7 randomly chosen races. I don't know which one they choose, but that is 500,000 for the entire year. It is a completely worthless thing that is mandatory because I can't do the sponsor obligations for year 1. That has potentially cost Yuki Tsunoda in previous races as well. Driver appearances is fine because that's a reasonable amount of money, and it's driver development paused for the week of each appearance. But even that is a little bit awkward because it's paused for the week of each appearance, not just the weekend, the week. Which means for 10 weeks of the year, Alexander Albon isn't growing as a driver. His lack of control has likely cost me more than the money that has brought me in. But with a 15-point lead on Williams, as you can see here, I should just actually say, weirdly, this is actually the best screen for this now, because for some reason when you actually go on analysis, you can't actually have both of these at the same time. But this is actually the best screen for it, and I've just discovered it. But car performance on the right-hand side there. 8th, 2nd, 1st velocity, components cooling 8th, 6th and 3rd. Those things carry over. Next year we're only getting a reduction in the cornering speeds, and we're 9th, 13th and 14th in those. I didn't do them in the right order, but we're 9th, 14th and 13th in those as things stand. So in terms of the things that we kind of need to counterbalance with research the most, I think we're actually... It's not the end of the world, let's say, if we don't get the most amount of research in. By the way, getting a construction delayed email made me panic because we cannot afford any more delays to building car parts. Oh, and bear in mind that cost cap obviously still has to factor in any manufactured car parts that we lose over the next 3 races. Obviously, losing parts in Abu Dhabi is not a problem, and Mexico and Sao Paulo last year were kind of notorious for crashes. So that's why I can't really do anything with Yuki Tsunoda for the next 2 races. Las Vegas might be... I don't know how risky Las Vegas is, but I cannot take 7.5 million out of the budget in case I then need to spend more than 3.3 million on the aerodynamic car parts to just get the cars through a weekend full stop. So poor Yuki Tsunoda is being sacrificed for 4 races. Our entire hopes rest on Alexander Albon. Now, good luck, Alex. I'll see you for qualifying. There's no sprint this one. Not exactly smooth practice session for other vehicles, notably the Alpines. I think they managed to get through practice 3 without an incident, but Pierre Gasly had 2, now takes penalties. Ocon had 1, now takes penalties because they replaced car parts. Ignore our positioning here. I've been super conservative all weekend. Sergio Perez was involved in one of the Gasly incidents, and I think Leclerc just has penalties anyway. But we're fine, 100%ing. It is a heavy rain qualifying, and it's starting wet. And also confirmation, you can actually run the gearboxes beneath 20% this year. Poor Yuki Tsunoda does have to go out with damaged car parts still. Ugh. We'll check which way the rain goes. Down is the answer. We'll get them out there with the banker because God knows what's going to happen. Obviously, we'll send Tsunoda second because he will be slower. Guaranteed. Not making it easy, Yuki. Suspension minor damage. Okay, that's not too problematic, and he hasn't actually damaged the already damaged car parts. He's got going again, actually, so Yuki might as well come in. I don't know why. It'll be intermediate at the end of this session anyway, so... Oh, no, it might be dry at the very end. if people don't time this well, it could be very, very dry at the very, very end. Obviously, we're in a very perilous position right now, but it's a one. Max has crashed again. Actually, he had a moment in practice, but I don't think it took him out of anything. He's just, I don't know how he's managed that. Did that Williams just come out on soft tyres? Oh, a lot of people are on softs now with 3 minutes to go. Or it has just gone dry, actually. The ones that concern me there, Ocon, Norris, Sainz, Piastri, Sargent, all on intermediates and all look like they've been doing laps. They're all coming in, actually, as things stand, but it is a 1 minute 20 laps, so we kind of don't really need to do much before 2 minutes. In fact, that's a nice section to be coming out in now, provided we can get the overtakes done. Yeah, I think we can get good spots here. Alex just needs to get through. Sorry, that's Yuki going past Bottas. We'll get Alex on push mode now as well. We'll give Yuki some love here. Why is he on 61% ERS? I know they're not functioning particularly well. Is that what that means then? I guess. Still not got the tyres up super high as things stand, but flying lap time for our drivers. People have come in, so it is a clear lap for Alex and Yuki. But they both need to do it because they are 10 seconds off the pace because rain. Only Ocon's on a flying lap, so everyone else is just done. So this is the risk, really, is waiting it as long as possible for the cleanest track. Alex goes purple, Q1. It's one of those tracks, of course, because it's such a long straight after the start-finish line. If you've got your tyres warm and your momentum up out of that last corner, you're going to put in a good first sector. Because I think the first sector is basically just that straight. But we're on board with Yuki, though, of course. Just trying to see if he can still get out of Q1. I've already put the incentive to get one person out of Q1. Ocon goes fourth, or went fourth, I should say. I don't know why he's saying De Vries isn't taking the checkered flag when he's not on track. Oh, he's finally registered him as finished. Couldn't say the words there. Albon goes fourth. So Yuki only just has enough ERS to get through one lap. But still eighth, which is remarkable considering his car's broken. A few people didn't... Those people who on those intermediates, I called them out. They didn't get back out again. To be fair, they just needed to do a lap, I think, to get through there because some people still had intermediate times. And it's back to intermediates, apparently. Oh, because he doesn't now have suspension, apparently. Oh, I don't have any more suspensions because we haven't been able to build any more suspensions between the 2 weeks. I can't click backwards. There we are. I'm so confused. It says we have one suspension in the warehouse, but we can't put it on. That one's installed on Alex's car, but this one isn't installed anywhere. Why can't I put on any of the other suspensions? Game? I'll happily not run him then. I'll just happily not run Yuki because I'm not spending 1.2 million on an emergency suspension that I don't need. Weirdly, I can move the suspension from car 1 to car 2, but I can't put a suspension that isn't on any car on when I can do afterwards. So, no. I am trapped into being forced to put this on. I have to spend 1.2 million in order to put a suspension on a vehicle that I don't want to send out anyway. Frontier, fix your game. I would like just to have the option to retire the vehicle. I'm just trying to see if there is a way I can retire the vehicle because I have zero intention of running him if I have to spend money. I don't understand why I can't. I can emergency manufacture one of these, but I can't put them on. But I can move the one from Alex, which implies it is capable that you can actually install one. But then I'd have to build one for Alex, I assume, because then he wouldn't have one. So I'd still be in the same problem. I mean, it is quite a jump in brake cooling between the two of them. I mean, just so I can actually get through, because I literally cannot go any further. Oh, yeah. Oh, look, I can install that one. Fix your game. Is it going to get wetter or drier? It's going to stay about the same, really. Of course, people come out the second we start our flying lap, because why wouldn't they? A terribly hindered lap. Thank you, everyone there. Actually, forgot to take them off push. They still managed to get home, thankfully. I was so distracted by the fact we got utterly mugged off there. Honestly, get them out again now, because it's only going to get wetter. We'll go on board with Albon, though, because this will be our flying lap, because this is as dry as this track's going to be, according to the forecast, so Yuki Tsunoda has basically used his entire rest by the time he's got to the start-finish line, somehow. I'm not confident he's going to get out of Q2. I mean, Albon is still 7th as things stand. There's only Stroll to go with a representative lap time. I'm hoping the Williams ahead is on a flying lap because Alex will catch them. Yeah, it looks like the Williams is going for it, so I think we'll be okay on that particular front. Faster middle sector, Yuki faster first sector. Into the stadium for Alex. Let's see if he can improve on whatever he did before that. 122.7, but my maths works there. That is a 122.4. Probably still 5. Meanwhile, Yuki Tsunoda has done a slower middle sector somehow, but I suspect it was the last sector where he got held up, but he's got no ERS. Or it was his first sector where he got terribly held up, 13th. I thought it would have been the last sector, but yeah, now we take them off, of course. That's as best as either driver's going to do now, because it's only going to get wetter for everyone. I think the virtue of it getting wetter actually might just save Albon as well. There's nobody in that bottom fight I'd expect to go any faster anyway. Oh, Tsunoda was set 15th anyway. Why did I have to run him? Why did I have to run him in that session at all? But we do at least get the bonus of Q3. And it's now dry, apparently. Well, we've got 4 sets of softs. We might as well send them out on the one that was marginally used to begin with and save 2 sets for the race. Oh, that's the point. It's going to get wet. Never mind. Oh, well, we'll get 3 dry sets. I'm not changing them. They better be news. We might be able to get 2 in before the rain gets here. People coming out straight away will help, though. On board with Alex again, though. Yeah, you can see the gap between him and the Mercedes is the end there. We should be okay. They deploy out that final corner, which is probably part of the bonus that we get here in Sector 1 precisely. And it's why Yuki ran out of ERS basically straight away. So I suspect the AI don't push out and use ERS until they get across the start-finish line. I suspect they're on harvest, obviously, under manual control all the way to the start-finish line. So that's why we've got the momentum from that point onwards. And why Alex went purple in Q1. I mean, he's purple right now, but he's the only person who's done a sector full stop. He's not going to catch anyone, and this will be the only run. Pity that we went out on used tyres. Foolish me thought it might actually be dry for the entire session. So we don't get the benefit, obviously, of a high confidence run either. This will just be the one and done. Dry times in Q1 were around 117 something, so a 118 from Alex is probably likely. 117 flat. Okay, I take that back. Might even start raining before some of these guys finish their laps. I think they'll all get across the line, though. Perez is half a second faster than Verstappen. I think he had a toe, though, judging by, yeah, Max towed Verstappen there. Albon is 5th. Albon's 5th. And now it started raining. Albon is 5th. Yeah, never going to be dry. Actually, it might be dry to do a lap at the end, but it's not going to be dry enough that the lap will be better. And everyone's come out during the rain anyway, so it's irrelevant. No, it's just staying above the dump anyway, so no point. What little point there was before has turned into absolutely none at all. One of those. Sergio Perez and Charles Leclerc do have penalties, though, along with Pierre and Esteban. I'm so annoyed that I had to spend 1.2 million on an emergency car park I didn't need. Because I could have put on the other suspension now. Don't get me wrong, it might actually put him in some good stead here, because better braking. But one stop is doable, but I suspect a 2 stop will be faster. It is, significantly so, in fact. Yeah, I don't know why that was a thing before. I don't know why a hard strategy was involved there when you can do that. And you can probably push all of these by a singular pace as well, yeah, and still make it. They're on the same lap, but they're also separated by 8 positions. I'm going to get really bold on this one, because it's a short lap, right? So it's 1.3 under to begin with. I'm taking 3 laps out. We didn't get through a single practice without a VSC, I don't think. So, going bold.
What will happen next? We're about to find out at the Mexico City Grand Prix. And it's lights out. And away we go.
It's Fernando on pole for Max Verstappen. Perez's penalty was only 3 places because it was an incident penalty rather than a mechanical penalty. But Albon's fending off Russell for 4th as things stand, and Alonso's fending off Perez now, actually, who's got Max Verstappen off the line. Poor Yuki Tsunoda is going to have to fend off people, but bear in mind there are other vehicles here in similar powertrain situations. Ocon was one of them until he crashed, and then I think he took new car parts. So Ocon, I think, now has a fresh vehicle. As Norris takes Tsunoda, Albon is fighting Russell and getting him back. But Yuki's fighting Lando. Good boy. We'll watch Albon on Russell, though. Through the double right-hander-ish. I always think that's a right-hander. It feels like a proper right angle when you're driving it in the Cody's game, but it's not, is it? It's almost a right-hander. Right angle. Now, Russell got him back, actually, annoyingly. I don't know when or how, but he did. But Yuki's made a lunge into that. Blimey, Yuki. Bold moves there. Yeah, Yuki, let's go. I mean, you're still exactly where you started, but we'll watch that one again. Absolutely no right to make that dive bomb, but... And it is worth saying, both of those engine pieces are literally just underneath the threshold where they go to yellow. Like, both of them are literally just under it. 50% and 40% are those 2 marker points. We'll come back in, though, as everyone has now done a lap. I'll pause things up and I can show you basically the situation. Ocon now has a completely fresh vehicle, as you can see, but he took the penalties to get it. Gasly had a broken gearbox, which was then a fresh gearbox, which he then broke back down to 60% or 70% with the second incident. So, tad unfortunate for him, but, someone like Stroll is working with a vehicle that is all under the threshold, as is Max Verstappen, apart from a gearbox. George Russell had a moment, so he's not perfect either, but above the threshold in some cases. Sainz's engine is subpar. like I say, there are a few other vehicles in this field that are suffering the same way Yuki Tsunoda is. Stroll, obviously, I don't think Stroll will get through the Brazilian Grand Prix without having to take those penalties, especially if he keeps crashing. It's actually kind of weird, Stroll, because up until Monza, I think he was the only driver to not have, or one of the few drivers who hadn't DNF'd at all season. And then Monza happened and he DNF'd because he ran into Albon, and then USA happened and he DNF'd because he ran into Albon. So he can't really relent on anything until they relent. We have to match them at their game, unfortunately. But DRS is now on, and they're off. Well, there's 3 DRS sections, but the first one is double. It's the main straight and then this straight from the same detection point in the stadium. So as long as you're within the detection point on the back here, you're pretty much always going to be within the detection point for the other 2. And Alex is. We have good DRS, do not forget. But apparently that's not good enough. Make that one make sense, please. We have the best DRS on the grid, and somehow we didn't then go faster than the other people with DRS. Logic! Someone's crashed. It's Bottas, unfortunately, and he's spun. So I think people have stopped pushing now. The good news is it's Nick de Vries behind Albon. Stroll clearly struggling with his vehicle. Can't even clear de Vries really that easily. He's got him now, though, but we'll try and get that. Bottas must have been running ahead of Tsunoda before his spin, because Tsunoda's up to 11th. Which was a shame, because it means he was on the borderline, at least, of getting points. But De Vries is tumbling now. We have to stop pushing that fuel, absolutely. There will be VSCs here, 100%. Right on cue! Hulkenberg's had a moment. This is the danger corner this year. It was the one after the DRS last year. I mean, there were problems here, don't get me wrong, in last year's game as well. But that infamous last race we had in Mexico, where we literally could not get going, happened at the end of, if I go on Perez, this straight. There was an incident, I think, on lap 2, and then as soon as the safety car came in and we got going again, there was an incident immediately at this corner, and then again, and then for the 3 times in a row, somebody crashed immediately there at the end of a safety car restart. And I think we ended with 12 people finishing the race, and then because there was nothing after that point, much like that happened in America just now, really. Obviously, this is just a VSC, a very early VSC. There's not really much we can do about it to capitalise with it. Unfortunately, Hulkenberg was the one splitting Tsunoda from De Vries. There we are. That's got us one. Oh, it's not got us actually as much back as I hoped it would, fuel-wise. It's only got us 1.3 back. We'll push the fuel literally on just the 1 lap post restart because everyone else will. But Fernando is fighting Perez with P1, which is an interesting sight. Russell and Verstappen and Hamilton are fighting. I think Verstappen. Did we check Verstappen's car? Is he one of the ones with the problematic car? He's one of the ones with the problematic car. It's literally happened. It's literally happened again. I can see Russell in the wall there. Admittedly, this is just VSC after VSC rather than safety car, but what's George done? Under pressure from Max Verstappen, bottled it. That's one of those accidents I don't know if it's going to be a race ender or not. I think he is out though, because I can't see a second Mercedes dot, because I think he'd be behind the pack. If he was, yep, he's out. Well, there's a little bit more fuel back. Tsunoda's still pushing it for some reason. And we're now 2 under. Well, this first stint's going sensationally in terms of the amount of tyres we've got. We can really push the other 2. Tsunoda's 9th with a non-functioning vehicle, really. Or subpar functioning vehicle. I mean, Leclerc is 15th, in fairness. He took penalties, so I suspect he'll be coming through at some point. But Albon's on the back of Hamilton, randomly now. I don't really know how that's happened. And he's dropped Stroll as well, who was in his gearbox before the first virtual safety car. But really, this is all about getting Tsunoda onto the back of De Vries, which is not a not a combination that I'm looking forward to happening on track, but there'll be a certain amount of trepidation once Yuki does catch Nick. Tsunoda's having to go at Hamilton. Albon, sorry, is having to go at Hamilton. I kind of want him to stay behind, really. Just take that DRS, mate. Just take the DRS, or go for it, really. You're behind for that detection point, which is nice, which means you'll be getting the DRS now. How are we doing tyre-wise compared to everyone else? About the same. Oh, the front 3 are on mediums. I didn't even know that. They're also separated by quite a distance, weirdly. So Alex is past Hamilton and will now drive away because it's a double DRS. Looks like the Ferrari got Stroll as well. Remember, Stroll's car is under par in all 3 mechanical sections. So as much as Verstappen is struggling, he's still in the top 3, although he's here. Tsunoda's 1.3 seconds behind Nick de Vries. Alex is not shaking Hamilton, sadly. Alex hasn't managed to shake Hamilton entirely. It'll be fascinating to see if Alex can get within Max Verstappen's DRS, though. He cannot. I mean, he is now, but he doesn't actually have the DRS. I almost feel like I can just go 5 push on this section without even worrying about, avoiding curbs or anything. Alex just has the speed on Max right now, which is odd. He struggles through the corners, though. seems to be the problem. Straight line speed, we've got, weirdly, the straight line speed we've got on the Red Bulls, but it's the cornering that's the problem. As Tsunoda in the background, because we weren't paying attention to him, does take Nick de Vries. That's actually before the detection point, I think. Yeah, the detection point's there. I'm hoping Nick doesn't get him back immediately. He hasn't. All right, we take fuel off. Well, I think every little bit we can take really now, in terms of extending this stint as long as possible on the most aggressive version possible, will do. We'll accept that Hamilton will get us back, because we are not really in that fight. As much as we threaten to do it, we can't maintain that as a long-term goal. Lance!
Right,
All right, please bear in mind it. Okay, so this is Alex, and that...
Oh,
I'm not fully certain Lance Stroll has eyes. Don't get me wrong, Alex has spun there, but the two vehicles directly behind him move out the way, and then Lance Stroll doesn't. And Alex was the one with an actual functioning vehicle. Now, is double medium better or is hard soft better? Because I can't actually look this up. We'll go in a medium and see how far it goes. Look, I'm annoyed at Alex because he spun, but I'm more annoyed at Lance Stroll because he's just not got out of the way. Tsunoda's now 6th in a race that I basically was going to retire him from the beginning if I could. He's fighting De Vries off the line. Leclerc is 8th, by the way. He's like straight on that tail. There's 3 front runners that are on mediums before. I think have gone on softs. They have. Some of the people who are on softs before have gone on softs, which is slightly odd because they're not going to get to the end of the race. I suppose they can do soft medium, probably, and get to the end in the same way that we're going medium soft, probably. But we're going medium first because we're not certain medium soft will still do it. The bizarre thing is, before Lance Stroll went into the back of him in Monza, Albon also hadn't DNF'd in any race. In any race. And he's since then now had 4 DNFs. 3 of them because of Lance Stroll. I don't know what Lance Stroll's got against Alex. It's almost like, I said it last time out, but it's almost like his grudge about being replaced at Aston Martin in last year's save has carried over. And now he's taken out on the person I've replaced Nick de Vries with instead, for some reason. I don't know, he's just good buddies with Nick de Vries. Yuki, what have you done? This is whatever happens here is apparently Yuki Tsunoda's fault. It absolutely isn't. That absolutely is Carlos Sainz's fault. Or Leclerc, whoever that is. Leclerc literally just turns into Yuki Tsunoda and Yuki Tsunoda's got the penalty. Of course he does. No damage to the actual vehicle, which is the main thing. But whatever. I don't really understand why Nick de Vries is... I know we've got a broken vehicle, but Nick de Vries is still in a Williams here. I understand Norris more than I do Nick de Vries. I'm not going to watch these overtakes because they are kind of inevitable. But he's at the back of the... He's back at the front of this and now closing on Nick de Vries again. Although Norris is now through and dropping Yuki Tsunoda for some reason. Like, on the one hand, I shouldn't be surprised because of the engine part situation. And I think they're all on soft as well. Yeah, they are. Yeah, somehow their softs are as good as Yuki's mediums. Work that one out. Oh, because he span. Right, yes, he took a bit out of that in the incident with Leclerc. And his confidence in the toilet because of the incident and because he's been overtaken about 7 times. That's why he was slow as well, because of the confidence loss from Leclerc running into him. I'm running these mediums as long as I possibly can, because then I get to go on softs and like really blast. Like if I can go on the softs and not have to like even avoid curbs for any period of time, that would be great. In fact, I probably ought to actually just have a look now. Yeah, a 4 push basically gets us there for the rest of so it'll be sort of like an interchange basically, I think, between taking curbs and not taking curbs. Where is Yuki Tsunoda now? On the back. Get him in now. That's 14th for him. Of course, he's only going to have 1 pit stop, so we're not even going to get the DHL. Yuki Tsunoda is now hunting people on mediums and locking up immediately. Never mind. What a pointless race for everyone. It's a red flag. Although it's a red flag because of Carlos Sainz and someone else. Probably Max Verstappen because he was struggling. Carlos Sainz is on fire. Well, that negates Yuki Tsunoda's entire race, actually, because Verstappen's not even out. His whole strategy was catching people on mediums on softs. And now everyone's going to be on softs. What a frustrating race. He's going to get Bottas off the line, though. Dramatically so. And Sargent. I mean, that's an unbelievable restart from Yuki Tsunoda. I don't know what happens with Bottas, but the drive he gets is incredible. I mean, sensational work there in terms of replays, but did Sainz just do the fastest lap when he's not in the race? I think Carlos Sainz just got fastest lap somehow. The game is fundamentally broken, it seems. Tsunoda now takes Norris too. We'll rewatch that one because it's nice to have good things. I hate this part of the season. Don't get me wrong, I actually quite like Mexico as a race as a whole, but I think it's just every time I come out of highlights, it's flashing up Carlos Sainz has the fastest lap. He didn't literally just do it, which makes more sense, I guess. But Yuki Tsunoda's in the points all of a sudden. DRS will activate next lap, and he's on the back of Magnussen. If De Vries could fall, I mean, for two vehicles, the Alpines, they started 19th and 20th because of penalties. They're now 6th and 8th because of the way this race has panned out. It's remarkable work from them. De Vries is on 89% softs as well. I don't know why his tyres are so bad in comparison, but I think a 5 push is absolutely fine, actually, for the entirety of this last stint, so I'll just leave him at it. But Yuki's got DRS now. Off he goes. That's K-Mag. I kind of need Gasly to get De Vries quickly here because we'll watch all of these. This is not how this race should have gone. And I now suspect Alexander Albon cannot drive for the remaining 3 races in the same way that Yuki Tsunoda can't. I should not have to put away 50 million of my budget for emergency mechanical parts per year. Bear in mind, I've already spent 23 million on emergency car parts just as standard, just to get to the end of the season because of basic wear rates of the cars and previous instances, of course, up to that point. I now cannot functionally finish this season. Yes, you've only just noticed, Yuki, somehow. Gasly, can you please take De Vries? There we go. Gasly's got... No, he hasn't got De Vries, actually, somehow. Gasly's not one of the people with the broken vehicle because he broke it twice in practice. So he got a fresh vehicle and then he damaged that fresh vehicle. So he's still at a reasonable level. But there's only 8 laps remaining and we're on 80% softs anyway, so I know we're going to be behind everyone else pretty much, although Verstappen and De Vries have gone for it. I think De Vries is just pushing, and I think that's the problem that Gasly's having. But he's got him at last. If we make Nick De Vries defend more than he can attack, that'll be great. Or if they just crash, that'd be superb as well, I suppose. Hey, actually got Nick De Vries as he was attacking Gasly instead. Oh, actually, starts the highlight there. What a weird point to start that, not, further back. Oh well. I think I just destroy these tyres and see what happens. I just want to see what happens more than anything. I think the fuel's going to be fine, actually, to the end of the race. Just pushing it. I mean, I wasn't expecting Yuki to make the move like that, if I'm honest. Or attempt to make the move like that. If he can be behind by the detection point, that'd be great, but I don't think he will be. He wasn't. Well, we have left Nick De Vries behind, and now we leave Pierre Gasly behind. It's not, he didn't get a replay of that, actually, good bit, but it's worth noting Nick De Vries dropped off, because he absolutely was pushing to keep Pierre Gasly behind. Yuki Tsunoda's confidence has got to be really good again now. He's at peak confidence now. I don't think Pierre Gasly will leave him alone, though. No. So Leclerc, who had penalties, do not forget, as well. So he started at the back with the Alpines. Alonso, who started actually on pole because of penalties to other people, is going to be 4th somehow. But Leclerc's going to win this race. And it's the last lap, and Yuki's still got half a kilogram, so he can absolutely push still. We've got 19% ERS in the bucket, so if we can, we use it at this first point where there's DRS. We make sure Yuki Tsunoda keeps Pierre Gasly behind, and we get a 7th. That would be nice. Williams only with 1 point. That's the main thing. Thank you, Kevin, by the way, for that. A little bit annoying that the back 6 have defaulted to their kind of rankings, but Yuki Tsunoda's making an inroad. The unfortunate thing is the ERS is now down to 34%, so I can only get through 1 more race with it, because I think it goes to major damage at under 30. The engine should be okay for a little bit, but I may still have to take an ERS with Yuki Tsunoda, but that's only 2.5 million. But that's absolutely the only thing I can take. So now I need to find out what the damage is to Albon's car, who actually did have functioning car parts. I nearly put in his second best on the one thing he did still have 2 functional ones of. He started 12th. So that race has thrown us some interesting tidbits in regards to the final orders. Mercedes' first podium of the year, along with George Russell's first DNF of the year and Carlos Sainz's first DNF of the year as well, showing the strength of that particular problem. But it's also the first time that Oscar Piastri has finished ahead of Lando Norris in a race in which they have both finished. Technically finished ahead of him last race as well, but Lando DNF'd for what was his one and only DNF of the season so far as well. And it's the first time Max Verstappen has finished beneath 4th. But the championship is still 2x2, unfortunately, although Lewis Hamilton is threatening to get Lance Stroll because he is now DNF 3 times recently. He actually didn't DNF in Monza. I was mistaken on that front. He just took Alexander Albon out and then continued on his merry way. But Yuki Tsunoda does get Hülkenberg in the process of that. 6 points, creating now a Haas sandwich between our 2 drivers. Of course, the overall championship remains the same, although we are now only 8 points behind Haas. Of course, we don't get on this because we only had 1 pit stop and it was 7 seconds. Wait, what? It didn't factor in the penalty. I mean, we closed an Alpine, but I don't think that's catchable in 3 races. Yeah, it didn't include the penalty. Oh, that's nice. It includes front wing changes, but it doesn't include the penalty, weirdly. We do actually get a payout there for race finishes. Or qualify. I forget which one was 4 out of 5, but we've just finished one basically. Oh, now we've got more front wings again. That's good because now we need more suspensions. And they take 8 days and the next race is in 4 days. Good work, everybody. I can't rush anything. We will have 2 in time for Vegas. So we still got 1 spare front wing in the warehouse. We literally do not have chassis. Like, we've just built one to replace the one that's just been damaged, clearly. So Alex doesn't have to use the worst suspension. I can't even manufacture more chassis because I'm already manufacturing a chassis from before and side pods from before. So I literally cannot do anything. I'm trapped. But the important thing is powertrain. Oh, thank God. Because Lance Stroll clocked him on the front end, I think we got away with that. We only lost a front wing. Everything else is as it was. The gearbox might be a little bit down, but that should survive 3 races. And research has actually started again, so we got to be careful here because we do need to actually still factor in the potential 2.5 million that we might take off Yuki Tsunoda's. So we got 9 million, so we've got effectively, if we allow for gearboxes, I guess, we'll leave 2 million aside for 2 gearboxes in case things go awry there, because Alex has only got the 1 functioning gearbox full stop. So if he loses that gearbox, we have to take one. There's no debate on that. And I think Tsunoda's in the same boat. So we'll put 2 million aside just in case we need those 2. We need 2.5 million absolutely to take an ERS on Yuki Tsunoda now, I think. So that's 4.5 million. So we've got 4.5 million essentially, plus whatever car parts. We haven't got any money then. We haven't got any money to do any more research because car parts are going to cost us probably, like aerodynamic car parts, because we need another chassis, which is probably about another 1 million. We're already getting 2 more suspensions. We may have, to be fair, we may just have to end the season on car parts that aren't actually the best ones, such as the way this is going. I'll see how much things cost. So I shall research side pods. They cost 1 million, and we'll put all of our effort into it because I do not think we have any more spare money. I'm going to do it like this, and there's a reason for it, because we are losing more low speed than high speed. So keeping a balance across the board is going to be quite helpful there. Honestly, I might as well put 6 into it and just get it done. It doesn't really matter, is the problem. In fact, weirdly, you're probably better off putting less. When's Abu Dhabi? 29 days. We'll do that. We'll put 3 in it. Because you gain experience for each day that it takes. So in a weird way, you kind of want research to take as long as possible. But yeah, 8 million. We'll leave that there because we can't risk it, really. If we've got money in the bank after Abu Dhabi, we can still get research done in that time by using engineers to get it done by the end of December. So that's what we're going to have to do. But quickly check the ERS situation on Yuki Tsunoda. He has a 34 and a 38. It's not going to make it, is it? It's just not going to make it. We're going to have to take 2.5 million to take an ERS on Yuki Tsunoda. There's no way, 2 ways about it. But we'll see if Brazil. We've only got 3 races left. It's really irritating to have to take these penalties now. But, you know, we keep getting crashed into. I said last time we're getting crashed into left, right, and centre. We can add front to that now, I guess. Because Lance Stroll has decided that he needs to go to Specsavers. I just don't get it. Like, the Mercedes, I think it was Hamilton, and the Ferrari, which I think was Leclerc at the time, managed to get out of the way. The Lance Stroll was just like, nope, I'm hitting you. Sure. I mean, the board would have still enjoyed that, actually, I would have expected, because it was points. Yeah, delighted. Just trying not to end up in debt or over the cost cap is basically the main thing here. I will see you for Brazil, which is a sprint race, which of course it's extra peril, because we never got out of Brazil with 2 functioning vehicles on last year's game either. I'm looking forward to this. You can see how thrilled I am to be going to Brazil. Anyway, if you enjoyed this, like, comment, subscribe. You know the deal by now. Until next time, ta-ra.